Hey, my name is Jay. Well, you guys know me as Jambalaya. I'm from the DMV area, and if you don't know what that is, it's the DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And living here comes with the fact that our sports aren't that great. As a kid, I was really into sports like that up until September 2017. And back then, I got into basketball, my first sport. I remember staying up and watching the Warriors dominate the league and LeBron carry bums after Kyrie left. But one of the ironic things that came with this is that I never got to experience the John Wall Wizards era, as I would say it got ended by the IT Celtics. The 2018 season is where they would get bounced by the Raptors, and from 2018 to 2023, we were stuck in an absolute dumpster fire with Bradley Beal. I, like many people, turned onto the other near sports team that are good, right? I turned to the Sixers, and I've been following them ever since, and that hasn't turned out to be as well.
Simmons, is this the dagger? Outscored 33-10. Tatum fires away, pumps it in! 51 for Jason Tatum.
Yeah, so today we're gonna recap the Washington Wizards from 10 years ago to now, so like and subscribe and sit tight. Now let's go back to the 2012 and 13 season. This season is where the Wizards got Bradley Beal and Thomas Satoransky in the draft. This year was the second year for John Wall, and there was pretty much no expectations, so don't expect anything yet. But we did get to see the rising during the make. They were so bad that they even lost to the Charlotte Bobcats. Yes, the Charlotte Bobcats. But Bradley Beal was able to show how great of a pick he was, averaging 14 points on 41, 38, and 77 shooting splits, while John Wall himself had a year of 18 points, 8 assists, and 4 rebounds. Already, he established himself as an elite point guard, as he was tied for 5th in assists per game that season as a sophomore. Unfortunately, the Wizards were the 12th seed, but there was a bright future in their core. Now, we're gonna go to the 13 and 14 season. The next year, the Wizards had a crazy leap year as they went from the 12th to the 5th seed with a record of 44 and 38. John Wall would have him another leap year, averaging 20 points, 9 assists, and 4 rebounds per game, while Bradley Beal had 17 points on 41, 40, 78 shooting splits. The Wizards were happy as they found their 1-2 punch with Beal and Wall, a decent center in Marcin Gortat, and 2 forwards with Trevor Ariza and Trevon Booker. The season was the first season that they made the playoffs since 2008, which they would get ousted by LeBron with Gilbert Arenas still being on the team. In the first round, they faced a 4th seed Bulls team led by a team without Derrick Rose as he was injured. They would take the first 2 games in Chicago with the duo leading the charge. When they returned home, they lost because of Mike Dunleavy dropping 35 points. Yeah. Anyway, they would manhandle the Bulls in the next 2 games to win 41, giving them their first series win in a long time, leading them to the next opponent to be the Pacers-led Paul George team, which would eventually go to the Eastern Conference to face the Heat. But we're still going to break down this series. In the first game, the Wizards stole game 1 on Indy's home floor with Bradley Beal having 20 balls. John Wall struggled this game, shooting 4 for 14, but Trevor Ariza would pick up the slack with 22 points on 6 for 6 on threes. Game 2 wouldn't result in a win as the Pacers narrowly escaped 86-82. Game 3, we're back in DC and the Pacers blew them out 85-63 with Wall and Beal disappearing this game. We'll skip to game 5 as the Wizards are able to win one more game to make it a 3-2 series. By game 6, the Pacers, but major moves had to be made for them to improve their roster. They just stopped playing with their food, got the better of them, winning 93-80. The future was still bright for this team, but major moves had to be made for them to improve their roster. Now we're entering the 14 and 15 season, their true breakout year. With lofty expectations for Otto Porter Jr., their previous rookie, and the team itself, people were expecting them to make a huge jump and maybe snag the 5th or 4th seed. They also acquired Paul Pierce, who was still able to produce in the back half of his career, but then the injury curse would come. Bradley Beal fractured his left wrist and was sidelined until November 19, which they were 7 and 3. The Wizards were continuing to roll heading to the new year though, and would end up as the same seed at 5th. In their first round matchup, they would end up matching up with another young team in the Toronto Raptors, who were emerging as the Eastern Conference powerhouse behind the Cleveland Cavaliers. But they were too inexperienced, and as the Wizards would be sweeping them, they took advantage. All 4 games having a margin of 7 or more. John Wall would really struggle with his efficiency, but he would average 17 points and 12 assists, with Bradley averaging 20 and 4. Paul Pierce would prove he was a great addition as their 3rd best star, averaging 16 points, 3 rebounds, and 57% from the field, and a blistering 58% from 3 with 83% from the free throw line. Their second round matchup would be against the number 1st seed Atlanta Hawks, the 60-win team. This would be the series to show if they could really go against the best of the best. In the first game, the Wizards would stun the Hawks 104-98, with Beal, Wall, and Pierce combining for 65 points to beat them, but a scary fall to Wall with his wrist would later haunt them. In game 2, they would get beaten 106-90 with Beal having to carry the load. The Hawks were able to key in defensively, limiting to a subpar 36% from the field. Ramon Sessions did step up with 21, but it wasn't enough. Back in DC and having a chance to go up 2-1, the Wizards and Hawks would go back and forth in this crazy thriller without Wall. The game would end up getting tied 1-1 with Beal and Ramon Sessions, the fourth best star, struggling, but Paul Pierce would deliver an ecstatic game winner to win the game for the Wizards.
Against the Warriors, Beal letting the clock wind down. Beal against Bazemore. Here comes Pierce with 5 seconds left. Pierce with 3. Pierce with 2. Pierce fall away at the horn. It's gone! Paul Pierce does it again as the Wizards win it 103-101.
With all the morale heading into Game 4, the Wizards couldn't sustain their excellence against this good Hawks team. Unfortunately, without Wall leading as point guard, the Wizards would lose Games 4, 5, and 6 and get eliminated. Even with Wall coming back, his wrist really would impact this game as he couldn't shoot higher than 50% from the field in those 3 games. During the offseason, the Wizards would trade Pierce, Russell Butler, and Kevin Sifferin for Kelly Oubre, Jared Dudley, Allen Anderson, and Gary Neal. Kelly Oubre would be the most important factor in this trade here, as he and Otto Porter were the forwards that would complement Wall and Beal. Unfortunately, this season was nothing short of a disaster. To put it quite frank, they missed the playoffs. They went 41-41, became the 10th seed. Remember, there's no play-in back then. And here are a few reasons why. One was injuries. Bradley Beal only played 55 games and was in and out of the lineups, which would mess up the rotations a lot, and John Wall, even though he playing 77 games, wasn't able to carry a team without his co-star. Even though they brought up Markieff Morris, a good 3-point shooter, it still didn't help. John Wall's defense also regressed mightily, to say the least, and the roster themselves didn't really help on the offensive side. Now, we're going into the 2016-17 season, their most successful season yet, which had high rebound expectations with Wall and Beal fully healthy. They got a new coach in Scott Brooks from OKC and a fully fleshed lineup. John Wall and Beal will skyrocket into a combo duo, with John Wall averaging 23 points, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds, putting himself in the best point guard in the East conversations, with Bradley Beal averaging 23, 3, and 5. The Wizards would have the 7th highest offensive rating at 111. They were 8th in 3-point percentage at 37%, and 5th in total points at 8,953. This team was the best version they could get out of the Wall and Beal era. They were able to get regular season wins over Boston, LA Clippers, and Pacers, all teams that were similar to them or above them in stats, and they would end up getting the 4th seed with a record of 49-33, their highest yet. Now, we're gonna enter the playoffs. In this first round, they matched up with the Hawks in the 2015 rematch. Although this team was without Al Horford as he was on the Celtics this time, this team was able to steamroll easily through the battered Hawks 4-2. Their offensive rating was 109.1 compared to the Hawks 107, and they had a higher efficiency field goal rate and a lower turnover rate. John Wall would go ballistic, averaging 30 points, 10 assists, and 4 rebounds on 47% from 3 and 52% from the field. Beal would average 26 on 46% from the field, although he did weirdly struggle with only 27% from 3, but hey, they got revenge. Now the real test was the Isaiah Thomas-led Celtics. With both teams matching the record going 2-2 in the regular season, the teams were destined for a great matchup. In the first 2 games, the Celtics were at home and took a commanding 2-0 lead and made the Wizards look silly, with Isaiah Thomas dropping 53 points in Game 2. Although John Wall tried to match him with his own 40 points, with Beal disappearing, he only scored 14. So now, we're back in DC. For Game 3, the Wizards blew the Celtics out of the water 116-89, limiting Isaiah Thomas only to 13 points on 37% shooting, with all of the Wizards scoring in double digits. Game 4 was another blowout. Thomas played better and had 19 points, and Wall and Beal combined for 54 points, with Beal having 29 and Wall having 27. So both teams were able to protect their home court. Now we just needed to see how the Wizards would play in Game 5, as they had a negative away record of 19-22. This record would haunt them, as they would get blown out by 22 points with a score of 123-101. Beal and Wall did not show up, as they both shot 37 and 41% from the field respectively, and had a combined negative 30 plus minus. So facing elimination, the Wizards were in do or die mode. This Game 6 was really close. We went back and forth all the way to the end. It was a 5-point game with 1 minute remaining, and Beal and Wall turned up. Beal would hit his first 3 of the entire game, with Wall getting 2 free throws later. After that, Avery Bradley would hit a 3, but it was counted as a 2 because his foot was on the line. Bradley Beal would then tie it on the other side with a bank shot on the other end, and Horford would do the same. Now it's 91-89 with 10 seconds left, and we know what happens next.
Oh, no. And they lead by 2 with 7.7 to play.
I hope he used glass.
Morris, Wall, Beal, and Gortat. Porter can't find anybody. He gives it to Wall. Working against Bradley for 3. John Wall!
Hold on.
What a shot!
Now you talk.
Unfortunately, when we go to Boston for Game 7, they just couldn't keep up the gas. It fell 115-105 in the Thriller series. A lot of Wizards fans had hope for next season, but next season was the beginning of the end of the John Wall era. John Wall would go through 2 major surgeries this season, missing 41 games and averaging his lowest points per game since 2016. The 2018 Wizards were nothing like they were before, struggling this year and only making it as an 8th seed. They would go against the number 1 seed Raptors but got beaten down in embarrassing fashion and afforded 2 losses. Following year, he would play even less games, only playing 32 and would undergo heel surgery as he was out for the season. Another setback happened though, as in his home, he slipped and tore his Achilles, setting him back all the way until December 2020. This was a rough time for Wizards fans as they will only get the 11th seed. During the offseason though, they were able to re-sign Bradley Beal on a 2-year extension and drafted Rui Hachimura as the 9th pick. 2020 was not a great year for them either, although they got the 9th seed in the bubble but weren't qualified to be in the play-in. Beal would average 30 points this year with 6 rebounds and 4 assists on 45, 35, and 84 shooting split. Just insane. Next year in December though was a year Harden asked out from the Rockets, which is important because in this trade, the Rockets traded Westbrook for Wall and sent Harden to Brooklyn, allowing the Rockets to rebuild. This was met with mixed reviews, but the chemistry between Beal and Westbrook was undeniable. Although the Wizards were in jeopardy of their playoff spot, you see, on April 12, 2021 to May 16, 2021, the Wizards would go on a mean 8 streak because they were the 20 and 33 and the 13th seed. But to get to the playoffs, they had to go for a mean playoff push, which they did. From April 12 to May 16, 2021, Beal would average 32, 4, and 3, with Russ averaging an insane triple-double with 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 14 assists. Unfortunately, like most of the Wizards seasons, they would get embarrassed in the first round to the Sixers in a gentleman's sweep. The first and last season Westbrook was on the team, as he would get traded to the Lakers during the summer, which allowed the Wizards to get Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, and Caldwell Pope, and some picks. Now, I'm not going to try and bore you guys. I could talk about the 2022 and 2023 seasons, but nothing interesting really happens as they were trash both these seasons. But what happens last year was important because Beal would be getting traded to the Suns and Jordan Poole would be getting traded to the Wizards. It now sets us up in 2024. With Poole arriving from the Warriors, the Wizards finally hit the rebuild button and are now rebuilding. With an upcoming talent in Bilal Coulibaly and Denny Avdija, and also getting Marvin Bagley for free, we are now here today. If you like the video, man, like the video. I'm close to 1,000 subscribers, so please subscribe because this video took me long to edit. Peace out, and I see you guys in the next video.